I grew up in a very religious household. My father was the minister of a Pentecostal church, so I regularly attended services where people practiced speaking in tongues. I started questioning my Christian faith in high school, and I became an atheist in college. But the older I get, the more I realize how much my religious upbringing really shapes the artist that I am today. I believe art, religion, and science, which are often thought of as opposing, actually have something really important in common: wonder. Wonder is both cognitive and spiritual. It's the curiosity that drives us to learn new things about the world around us, but it's also the feeling we get when we encounter something that's beyond our understanding. My art practice is founded on my own sense of wonder, and it's my personal goal to create works of art that inspire a sense of wonder in others. Something I'm particularly inspired by is time. If time is a construct, my work seeks to figure out how exactly it's constructed. I'm especially interested in the way time serves as a constant reminder of our mortality. So, like everything else in the world, my work often moves, changes, deteriorates, and in some cases even dies. Projects range from really simple alterations of found objects, like this one. It's a clock that's been altered to have 12 functioning hour hands, so it's always all the time. To this laptop, which has a rock placed on its keyboard so that it continuously and infinitely types the letter Y. To more complex machines like this electromechanical sculpture, which has been programmed to have a human lifespan. It has the average life expectancy rate of babies born in Tennessee in 2012, about 78 years. The kick drum beats its pulse, and the mechanical counter on the wall displays the number of heartbeats remaining in its lifetime. An internal, battery-operated clock keeps track of the passing time even when the sculpture is unplugged. And it will die when the counter reaches 0. In a way, art has become my religion. And making art, I've realized, is actually a lot like speaking in tongues. In Pentecostal churches like the one I grew up in, speaking in tongues is most commonly used as a personal prayer language. This basically means that the Holy Spirit gives a person the ability to use words and expressions that don't exist in their own language to communicate more directly with God. I think of it as being similar to the way that some words just don't translate from one language to another. Like the German word Waldensamkeit, which in English means the feeling you get when you're walking in the woods all alone. Speaking in tongues is like a whole language of expressions that just don't translate. We've all experienced times when we can't quite find the words to express ourselves and our feelings. And art is a powerful and personal form of self-expression. But most artists can't tell you why they're compelled to make what they do, or articulate exactly what their work is meant to communicate or accomplish. Art requires other people to be the work's interpreters, to translate the work's message for themselves and to find their own meaning in it. And it's for this reason that art can often be challenging or even troubling when presented to people in a public setting. A lot of people hate contemporary art because they just don't get it, especially when it's not beautiful or skillful in a traditional sense. But it's always been very important to me that my work can be understood by most people on at least some basic level. As a conceptual artist, my work always begins and ends with an idea. And the materials I work with are chosen based upon their ability to communicate a concept as clearly and concisely as possible. And I think this is why text has become one of my primary sculptural materials. Words are like found objects. They're easily recognizable and accessible to anyone who speaks the same language or has the ability to read. But single words can also have many definitions, so they also have the ability to possess great depth and complexity. One word can be both simple and profound. This kinetic sculpture uses red acrylic line segments to create and destroy the word now about once every second. But the lines that construct it slow down ever so slightly as the word forms. But just like time itself, they never quite come to a complete stop. One moment is always being replaced by another. Eternity uses the hour and minute hands of 30 electric clocks to spell the word eternity once every 12 hours. The clocks are rear-mounted to a large piece of white acrylic, so only their hands are visible from the front, and those hands are aligned to spell the word eternity. And then all the clocks are plugged into a chain of power strips on the floor, so that when the last one is turned on, the clock hands begin to move all at the same time. And the word eternity disappears and doesn't reappear for 12 hours later. By definition, eternity is a state to which time has no application. So these clocks, which would normally keep time, are instead used to materialize the concept of timelessness. This is one of my most recent sculptures, titled Real Time. It uses second hands to continuously form and fragment the phrase, "It never stops." But instead of aligning and appearing at one specific moment, like eternity, each letter appears one after the other every 5 seconds, revealing the whole phrase over the course of a minute, and then beginning at the beginning again. In addition to forming and fragmenting words with kinetic sculptures, I also enjoy working with what I consider the ultimate medium for text-based art, neon. "You Are on an Island" is a neon sign whose message is animated by the word "on" flashing on and off at regular intervals. The absence of that word transforms an otherwise obvious statement into a reflective and philosophical one. You are an island. The sign suggests that we are each, as individuals, alone in our bodies and in our minds. But when the word "on" appears, it reminds us that we're all on this island called Earth together. And the sign's rhythmic flashing creates a poem that almost is like a mantra, repeating itself infinitely, and inviting us to marvel at the world we inhabit and the role we play in it. You Are on an Island was originally created for an art festival that takes place right here in Maine called Sacred and Profane. It happens every fall in an abandoned army battery on Peaks Island off the coast of Portland. And as you can see in this image, the sign was erected in the middle of a flooded room. But since then, it's been shown all around the world, including Australia, Malta, and most recently, New York City. Earlier this year, my collaborator Mike Fleming and I were invited to bring the sign to the UK. But instead of showing it in a gallery, we decided to erect it on the back of a truck, power it up with a generator, and take it on a 2-week guerrilla sculpture tour around northern England and Wales. That was our last hurrah. My desire to bring my work around the world and to make it accessible to as many people as possible, even people who wouldn't normally enter a gallery or a museum, I think is another aspect of my religious evangelical upbringing that I've carried over into my practice as an artist. Religion has the ability to bring people together from many different walks of life and to create a common ground. And I believe art has the potential to do the same thing. Even though You Are on an Island highlights the sense of isolation that we all sometimes feel as individuals, it also emphasizes the fact that that feeling is something we all have in common. We're all human, and humans have the natural inclination to try to make sense out of the world around us and to find our own place in it. We look at the clouds and we try to see images. We look at the stars and we try to connect the dots. We're always searching for truth and for reason. Everything you are looking for is invisible. Anything truly meaningful is intangible. Some things are inexplicable, and we can only wonder. Thank you.